Hello, and welcome back to the Next Level Her podcast, the podcast where we have real conversations about personal and spiritual growth, embracing the highs, the lows, and everything in between. I'm your girl, Pauline, and today's episode, to be honest, is a vulnerable one for me, but I believe it's necessary. So, today we're talking about communication. Not just the kind where we speak eloquently or write beautifully, but the kind that requires self awareness, humility, and growth. So I'm going to be honest with you. Communication for me hasn't always been easy. It is something that I'm still working on. I'm in a season of learning and also unlearning, and I've had to face some hard truths about how I show up in conversations, especially the uncomfortable ones. I'm a processor. I like to reflect deeply, and typically after a conversation or conflict, I'm replaying the information in my mind, not to dwell in regret, but to analyze because I like to know how I can do better next time. Because I typically ask myself, what could I have said differently? Did I really listen? Or was I just waiting for my turn to speak? Or did I prioritize being right over being kind? When I'm communicating with my husband, I always have to tell myself, am I speaking to be right? Or am I speaking to understand and to be kind? So I always got to check myself because, baby, I like to defend myself a little bit, especially if I feel like I was misunderstood. But sometimes it's not always about being right, it's just really trying to understand. So, your girl is learning. This season is teaching me that communication is not just about what you say, it's about how you make the other person feel. And while what we say is important because we do have to hold the other person accountable, there has to be some accountability. But at the same time, we still have to be mindful of how we make the other person feel. One of the most powerful tools in communication is empathy. To be clear about empathy, it's not just about having sympathy, but empathy, the ability to step into someone else's shoes and feel what they may be feeling. And so for me, I always try to understand what people are feeling because I'm able to empathize better if I know the feeling. And what I'm realizing when I talk to people sometimes, not everybody can articulate what they're feeling. So if they're expressing what they think or different things like that, and a feeling is not attached to it, I'm realizing it's hard for me to have empathy because the feeling isn't attached to it. So sometimes, even when I'm talking to like my sisters or my husband, I try to find out, okay, what are you feeling? So I can pretty much put myself in that place. The struggle for me is I am a solution oriented individual. I love to problem solve. I love to get creative, think about ways to fix things, make things, and so forth, right? Make things happen. I'm a mover and shaker. So when people come to me with whatever it might be, in my mind, I'm already coming up with like a solution. I'm already looking to, okay, let's see how we can fix this. Because for me, when I'm dealing with something, my next go to is, okay, how can I fix this? How can I make it better? What's the solution? Because I don't like to stay stuck in a problem. So the problem for me or the struggle for me is it is difficult for me to be in a conversation and just empathize and just be there without giving a solution. I know most people think men do that, but some women do it too. So for me, I can unintentionally miss the moment to pause and simply see the person or hear the person or try to understand the way the person feel because I'm over here problem solving, right? So I've learned that sometimes people don't need solutions or explanations, they need validation. So sometimes you just have to validate how they feel. So if you're someone like me, fight to not try to give a solution or explanation, but just to validate. It is difficult for me, but that's something that I am working on. And if that's what you struggle with, I would encourage you to work on it too. Another thing about empathy says that I may not fully understand your experience, but I care enough to try. And that changes everything to the other person. So just showing that you're willing to try, you're willing to understand, you're willing to do whatever it is speaks volumes, right? So that's one thing when it comes to empathy that I know for me, baby. Whew, the next level conversations that we're all working on. All right. So for me, the things I try to pay attention to when I'm communicating, whether it's with a client or a partner or a team, here are some things that I'm learning to pay more attention to. And I hope that it helps you if you find communication to be difficult. And when I say difficult, I mean if you find it hard for you to be humble in difficult conversations. All right. So, one thing that I try to focus on is tone over text. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Y'all know y'all hear that all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So, your tone can build a bridge or burn one down. Your tone can invite someone or reject someone. So, we have to be very mindful of the tone, right? And sometimes the tone, even if you're saying something right, that tone can completely causes someone to misunderstand where you're coming from. The second thing is listening without being defensive. Baby, I have to defend myself, okay? I always feel the need to defend myself because I am someone, I'm very analytical. So I need facts. And so if you're telling me something, I'm going to ask the why. I need to know when, who, what, when, where, why, how, all of that, right? So because I need that, it can come off defensive because I need the facts. If the facts ain't lining up, we're not just going to go based off of situations. So sometimes we listen to respond instead of listening to understand. So ask yourself, am I listening to defend myself or to truly hear them out? My husband can tell anybody that I know I'm defensive. I listen to hear you, but I also listen because if what you're telling me is not factual, then that defense come up. But the most important thing is listen to understand, listen to hear them, not to defend. I know this one is a hard one for me, okay? Now, and I think the reason why it's hard for me is because there has to be some accountability, right? Here's what we need to understand. At the end of the day, God will defend you. It's not for you to defend yourself. It's for to allow God to defend you. So that just gave me a little bit of a woosah, a little bit of relief because sometimes we feel like we have to defend ourselves when we just need to just let it be and let allow God to defend us on our behalf, right? So, okay. Timing matters. Not every moment is the right moment for a deep conversation. So for me, I have a habit of asking my husband certain questions. I ask questions to let him know that I'm ready to receive so that he feels free to share. So that's something that I do. I ask questions, just letting them know, hey, this is an open space. I'm giving you this space to share without you having to worry about me being defensive because I opened up that door. Body language speaks loudly. That's another one, okay? You got to pay attention to your body language. Crossed arms, lack of eye contact, deep sigh. These are all communication messages, whether we mean them or not to. So for me, that's something I'm very aware of. I do pretty good at that, but sometimes people can, when you're talking, if you ain't talking right, they take one step back. Like they get in that defense mode. They ain't saying nothing yet, but it's like you get in that defense mode. If you're one of those people that take one step back, getting into that defense mode, be mindful of that. I listen, I make eye contact, I nod. So think of ways that you can, use your body language to communicate that you're listening and that you understand. Pause before you react. This is something I have to do because I'm reactive. I'm a processor. So if I don't get to process before reacting, it's not going to be pretty. So a moment of silence can save me or you from a mountain of misunderstanding. Sometimes your best response is to breathe and pray before speaking. Okay? All right. The last one is get clarity and don't assume. Misunderstandings happen when we fill in the blanks with assumptions. So ask clarifying questions instead. Now that I am pretty good at asking clarifying questions because I want to make sure I understand what you mean by whatever you say. I'm going to clarify, I'm going to break it down because I don't claim to have good comprehension. So I got to clarify, okay? But overall, growing pains are still growth. Communication is not easy. It's difficult, especially if you're prideful, you're defensive, you like to be right all the time. If that is you, listen, conversations can be real difficult. But here's what I've accepted: growth doesn't always feel graceful. You may stumble through conversations, you may miscommunicate, you may have to go back and apologize or clarify. And guess what? It's okay. I've had to do some of those things, and it's humbling. But it was also freeing because when you lead with honesty and growth, people can feel that. People can tell when your heart is open. So if communication has been hard for you too, I want you to know you're not alone. Growth is uncomfortable, especially when we're trying to get to the next level. Progressing to the next level is never comfortable. But God doesn't call us to be comfortable. He calls us to character. So we have to have character. We have to be obedient. So here's my encouragement for you today if difficult conversations are hard for you. Reflect on how you communicate, but don't just stay stuck and overanalyze. Sit, reflect, see what you could have done differently, and correct yourself so the next time you get into a conversation, you know how to position yourself, you know how to react, you know how to have empathy and care for the other person that you're talking to. Ask God to help you with communicating. Ask God for wisdom in communication, empathy, and grace. That's something I've been working on a lot, being gracious. Because at the end of the day, sometimes communication may be taking place, but experiences and situations are taking place behind that communication. So sometimes you have to take communication with a grain of salt, okay? Because sometimes people are going through other things and you're just on the receiving end of what people are going through. So you have to approach with grace. And so for me, sometimes I always have to take a step back and be like, okay, clearly this isn't about me, or even if it is about me, even if I was the what is it? What do they call it? Even if I was that straw that broke the camel back, there were already other issues going on. So all I can do is apologize for putting that straw on the camel's back. But at the end of the day, be gracious because that other load that was on that camel's back, it is what you need to be praying for them for. So be gracious. And remember, every conversation is an opportunity, not just to be heard, but to be understood and to understand others and to grow. It's an opportunity for you to move on to your next level. It's an opportunity for you to mature. So if you're in the same boat as I am, here is my challenge for you. So if conversations can be difficult for you and you find yourself being defensive, you find yourself being prideful in a situation, you find yourself not understanding, not having empathy, not having grace, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect on one recent conversation and ask yourself, what did I do well? What could I have done better? Did I listen with empathy? Did I communicate with clarity? Did I extend grace? And did I use wisdom? Then pick one small thing to improve. Maybe it's pausing before reacting. Maybe it's softening your tone. Maybe it's asking, how can I support you? Because communication isn't just about being eloquent, it's about being effective and intentional. For me, one of the things that I could do differently in a conversation is even if the feelings aren't expressed, whatever that's being said, I have to find the feeling to empathize with, even if it wasn't mentioned. Because if I can find a feeling, it is easier for me to have empathy. I hope this message bless you in some type of way because your girl is learning, your girl is being stretched, your girl is growing. These are growing pains, okay? Your girl is growing. And it doesn't feel good in the moment, but I know on the other end is my next level, right? So let's continue getting to our next level. Let's continue progressing. Let's continue to grow. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Next Level Her podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who might be navigating communication challenges, okay? And remember, you are not failing, you're learning. Okay? So don't get down on yourself. You're learning. You are not a terrible person. You are becoming. This is your journey. This is your growth. This is your next level her. So keep growing, keep flourishing, and keep growing into that next level her. See you next time. Talk soon.